Good day, everyone. Once again, I welcome you in the second part of Chapter 2 Federalism. Children, in the last video, we had told you about the three lists, uh, which specially deals with the jurisdiction of the union government and the state government. So one list was about the central jurisdiction, other list was about the state jurisdiction, and the third list used to carry about those subjects which are of common interest between the center and the state. I had told you about that. Children, other than these three lists, there is a one another list that is called fourth list. This list is also referred as residuary list. Residuary list carries all those subjects which had not emerged by the time constitution was made. All those particular topics which got birth after 1950 or in late 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Okay, all such topics, all those issues like cyber crimes, okay, like computer related issues, okay, any laws regarding that, if needed, they were put in the fourth list, residuary list. Any such laws like of the cyber crimes and all which emerged in the late 1960s, 70s, 80s, okay, new issues were put up in the residuary list. Children, residuary list is also considered as the extension of union list only. Why? Because the central government alone has the power to make laws over this. Clear? Now we move to the next thing, that is how federalism practiced in India. Let us see that how federalism is practiced in India. Just a minute. Children, first and foremost feature of practicing federalism in India, most important feature of that, most important mechanism of that was creation of linguistic states. When we say linguistic state, what does it mean? It means creation of states on the basis of language. Means language would define the boundary of a state. What does this mean? This simply means that Gujarat's boundary would be extended up to all those areas, it would be covering all those areas which are having Gujarati as their native language. Likewise, all the Marathi spoken areas would be included under the boundary of Maharashtra. Likewise, all Marwari spoken areas would be considered the part of Rajasthan. So, this was considered as a strategy to create the states. Children, earlier our leaders had fear that this might create the sectionist type of movement. This might create the disunity type of disunity type of issues among the states, but it did not happen. Rather, it proved a more peaceful type of thing, and it looked like creating a unity among the different diversities. Okay, today it is more than 60 years after the state reorganization commission's recommendations, implementation and all. We found that now India is taking shape as a strong nation among the different diversities. Most of the language diversities have been accommodated. Okay, though still there are some movements of the creation of new states and all, but most of the appropriate states have been created up to now. Okay, so this way we have been successful in creating a strong federation. Second feature under it is the language policy. What does it? Children, you would have heard about the issue of national language. You would have studied that many of the countries do have their national language. They do discard the regional variations of the languages and all. But in India, our constitution gave respect to Hindi. Okay, but along with Hindi, Indian Constitution recognizes 22 languages. What does it mean? What does the word recognition or giving recognition facilitate those languages which have been provided a chance to be part of a list that is called language list? Children, it simply gives power to that particular language speaker that he can do his official work in that language, he can write exams in that language, he can continue with that language. Okay, he would not be forced to opt Hindi or English or any other kind of language if that language has been recognized by the Constitution. Okay, so this way we have accommodated not one, not two, not three, but 22 regional languages. Okay, our Constitution have enlisted them. So this was another way to accommodate diversity. Okay, so this is a great and important aspect of Indian federalism. Now we move to the another feature of the Indian federalism, that is center-state relations. Children, you know that sharing and respecting each other would be a policy to create to create a good relation type of thing between center and state, and it has been happening. Especially the politics after 1990s had been the politics in India of coalition. Okay, nowadays, okay, just right after 1990s, there had been the era of coalitions. Coalition means when not one single party get majority, and therefore the prime parties do partnership or do coalitions with the regional parties. Okay, you would have heard about the prominent coalitions, prominent alliances of the 21st century in India, like NDA, which is led by BJP. Likewise, you would have heard about UPA, which is led by Congress. Okay, in that, these prominent parties, BJP and Congress, had made partnership with other regional parties which were the smaller, but they had influence in their regions. Is it? So, they adopted under these alliances, under forming these coalitions, they adopted common programs. Okay, and various parties are coming together to form government who are having almost same opinion over some specific issues. Clear? Now we move to the next thing. Children, I want to make you realize that nowadays, to maintain the center-state relation better or more good, a major judgment of Supreme Court made it difficult for the central government to dismiss state governments in arbitrary manners. Okay, arbitrary manners means without any kind of serious issues, central government cannot dismiss the state governments. Okay, there shall be some solid regions. If there are no solid regions, just for the rivalry, central government would not be able to dismiss, would not be able to use the governor's power wrong way, would not be able to would not be able to impose the presidential rule in a state without any serious issues. If there are serious issues, definitely it would be. Secondly, children, I want to add one more thing to your knowledge, that is 25 of the world's 192 countries have federal political system up to now. Okay, because federalism is something which promotes democracy. Okay, so 25 of the world's 25 countries of the world out of 192 have followed federal political system because it is very fruitful and it is very accommodative. Okay, especially for large nations, it is very accommodative. Now we move to the next thing, that is called decentralization. Decentralization is a very great process, is a very nice process in the expansion and deepening of democracy. Children, please take these two words, expansion and deepening, very proper way, because decentralization would be a tool to make democracy to reach up to the last level, to expand up to its largest extent. Let us see. First of all, I want to define decentralization. It is a very simple definition: taking some powers from the central government and giving it to the state government. Okay, for a say, central government is dealing in 97 to 99 topics. Okay, and with time, Parliament observes or feel that 5 of the topics should be taken from the central government and it should be given to the state governments. They would be able to rule better way. Okay, so some of the issues which had earlier been with the central government have been given now to the state governments. So this is the thing which is called decentralization. Likewise, some of the state issues. Okay, for example, when we were discussing about the list, I told you that in a state list there had been 62 to 66 subjects, right? Okay, out of that 66 subjects, 29 subjects have been separated and given to the local self governments, Panchayati Raj governments. Okay, because they would be able to deal better way on over those issues. Okay, this process is called decentralization. Clear? Again, if I say in very systematic language, it would be power taken away from one set of government and given to the another set of government. Clear? Now, what is the reason for decentralization in India? First is that it is very large country. Okay, there are 3 governments. Okay, all the 3 governments would be able to deal better way if they are provided proper subject area. If you have set a government and you have not provided it its proper jurisdiction, what is the meaning of creation of that government? If you have created Panchayati Raj, okay, and you have not provided them proper revenue powers, if you have not provided them proper jurisdictional subjects, what would be the meaning of creation of that government? Isn't it? So, the first and foremost thing is that a large country needs decentralization. So children, in India we have created 3 tier of government. One is central government, other is state government, and another is local governments. Okay, large number of problems are faced by the people at the local level, means the village they are living, the colony in the city where they are living. There could be problem of water, there could be problem of street lights, there could be problem of sanitation, there could be problem of another nature at the local level. So people would be feeling friendly if their local representatives have been empowered to deal with, because that local representative would be living in the same village, would be facing the same problem, and people too would feel themselves comfortable to talk with the local representative. If he has been empowered to deal with such issues, it would be a great advantage. Okay, local people do have better knowledge of local problems. Okay, and this way, this decentralization would be helping them to contribute towards democratic participation. Okay, children, in 1992 amendment was brought through which the Panchayati Raj system or the local self governments were made powerful. The 3rd tier was made powerful, and some very important amendments had been done in the constitution itself to make these local self bodies powerful. First was that there would be regular election. Second important amendment which was made to strengthen the local self government was reservations would be provided to scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and another important aspect which is very important about the local self government, that women also have been provided reservation, which is still not there in the state assemblies or the Central Assembly, that 1/3 seats of each category, STs, STs, even generals, would be reserved for women. And this is the cause, children, you see most of the women as Panch and Sarpanch. Okay. Secondly, another important aspect for creating strength in the local cell body was that creation of election commission as well as the state financial commission to strengthen local cell bodies. Okay, I have already told you that 29 subjects of the state governments have been provided to the local cell bodies, which would help them to frame the topics better way, to deal the topics better way. Formation of this local self government has also been given the name of Panchayati Raj. Okay, group of each village have a panchayat. President of this panchayat is called Panch or Sarpanch. These are directly elected by the people, because people of the village, population of the village would not be much more than 5,000 or 10,000, is it? So the direct democracy type of system could be enacted, could be made over there. Okay, they works under the supervision of Gram Sabha, a very important concept. Gram Sabha, what does Gram Sabha mean? Gram Sabha means all the adult voters of that village, all the adult voters of a panchayat constitute Gram Sabha. They do have power to hold 2 or 3 meetings in a year, where they call the Panch, Sarpanch, block development officer. They can discuss, they can put up the issues of their village. This way the development could be directly implemented. Clear? So Panchayati Raj governments, I have told you, at village level there is Gram Panchayat. Then this Gram Panchayat is controlled by the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha, that simply means all the voters of that village. Likewise, at block level or mandal level, Panchayat Samiti would be there. Panchayat Samiti would be including all the blocks, and it is elected by Panchayat members of that area. Now at district level there would be Jila Parishad. It is formed by the elected members and have members of Lok Sabha and MLAs also. Clear? So that I have cleared you. At urban level there would be municipalities and municipal corporations. Okay, municipalities would be in towns, whereas municipal corporation would be in big cities. Okay, so municipalities would be headed by the municipal chairperson, whereas in the big cities it would be mayor. Clear? Just a minute. Now we move to the last section. Okay, these would be the big questions. Just a minute. Okay, so my dear children, we complete over here with the decentralization. This lesson gets over. I have sufficiently cleared you. In case you are having any query, you can put up in comment box. Thank you.